everybody before me, so I've been hearing the rules, and I'm glad that you got to say last not but not least, Mr. Chair. So Sam, thank you so much. And Prince William Dems, good evening. I am Shannon Taylor. I am the Commonwealth Attorney for Henrico County, and I do want to be your next Virginia Attorney General. And I know we've been hearing a lot about what's been going on, but let's just call it what it is. It has been utter chaos since January 21st. And that is because for all of these executive orders, which I will tell you right now are not laws, but for every executive order, we have a current Attorney General, Jason Miyares, who's doing one of two things. He's either sitting idly back and letting these things unfold, or he's doubling down with the threats and and telling people what hammer is going to come down. But what he's not doing is his job, because he should be checking the constitutionality and the legality of these executive orders. Because what is the result? The results, Virginians are getting hurt. And we need to have an attorney general who's going to protect all Virginians. So, Prince William Dems, what does that mean? That means when you know that you have an incumbent Republican running in the fall, you're going to have the best Democratic AG candidate to go up against him. And I want to tell you, I'm focusing on a couple of aspects. It's about experience. It's about experience. It's about leadership. And it's about someone who is a proven fighter. Because what we've all been talking about is these aspirational aspects, but the one person who's going to take Trump and Musk to court is your attorney general. And there's no better fighter in the courtroom than Shannon Taylor. I've been a lawyer for almost 30 years, of which when 3.5 of the years when I was doing defense work, the rest of my tenure has been in public service. I've been the Commonwealth Attorney in Henrico County since 2012, which means my very first election was 2011. And you all may remember there was someone named Eric Cantor who was the majority leader. And if that tells you, if you know who he is in Henrico County, that shows you how red my county was. So I am the only one in this primary who has flipped a seat from red to blue, because when I won that first election in 2011 and did it again in 15 and did it again in 19 and 2023, I've always gone up a Republican opponent. Even as Henrico has been trending from red to blue, just like Great Prince William County's been doing, I just continue to get more and more support. So you've got a fighter when it comes to elections and a proven winner. Then when I talk about being this lawyer for 30 years, and I've handled thousands of cases and hundreds of jury trials, I'm also a fighter in the courtroom and also a leader in the courtroom. So whether it is the idea of going up against the Klansman in my county when he took his truck and drove through Black Lives Matter march, or whether or not more recently I was selected as the special prosecutor for one of the white supremacists who marched on the lawn in the University of Virginia with the torches back in that fateful weekend of August of 2017. You have someone who knows how to put together a team, who knows how to look at the issues, who knows what it means to go after those issues and what the evidence is going to take so you can prevail in court. And then it just also shows you that I'm a fighter, because I'm never going to back down, and I'm always going to try to find out the best way that we can achieve the goals. And if we have issues with the law, like we had with the Klansmen, I'm going to go to my legislative representative, because we tried to change the hate laws back in 2020. But there was a senator in that Senate Judiciary named Joseph Morrissey who did not want to let that thing come through. And so I want to let Prince William Dems know now that a part of my legislative agenda as Attorney General is going to be to fix our hate crimes. So it's more along the national standard, focusing on the perception of the offender and not about the characteristics of the victim. This should be about the offender. And then, of course, being the first one to litigate the new crime that was used in the Albemarle case. Now, I was also a fighter for women's reproductive rights, because on the date of the Dobbs decision, I got on the national stage to say that I would never prosecute a woman and her doctor for engaging in that very personal choice, just like we see what's happening in Texas. And folks, I will also tell you this. I'm a leader, not just in the courtroom, but also outside and across this state. Not only having been the past president for the Prosecutors Association, which represents 120 prosecutors in the state, but I've been selected by both Republican and Democratic governors to be part of a committee, to be part of a task force, because people care what Shannon Taylor has to say. And it's my voice in the room with the experience that I bring that people know that I come at issues to problem solve from a multidisciplinary approach. That's my experience, and that's what I bring. And the last thing I will tell you, Prince William Dems, if you want to be the head of the biggest one of the biggest law firms in the state, it'd be nice if you've been a boss before. And I can tell you it's been my honor to be the boss of the Commonwealth Attorney's Office in Henrico County, one of the largest offices in this state. That means I know what it means to manage people. I know what it means to foster a positive work environment. And I'm telling you right now, the good ladies and women and gentlemen of the AG's office right now are desperate for a good leader who will bring joy back to that office. So, Mr. Chair, I say thank you. I'm looking forward to the Q&A portion, but you're going to have a winner in Shannon Taylor, and I hope I can earn your vote for the June 17th primary.
All right, so let's just go down and jump right in it. So in the last General Assembly session, the legislature fully voted, fully funding prosecutors and public defenders across state of Virginia was introduced to the House and the Senate, and it failed in appropriations. The bill has been has broad bipartisan support, including groups of NAACP and also the Virginia Associations of Police Chiefs. Do you support the access of the Justice Bill, and what will you do to ensure its passage in the next General Assembly? And if you oppose it, why?
Well, let's talk about what things look like in the beginning and then what they looked like after the committee meetings. So everyone here knows that when a bill is being proposed, it's in one form, and then as it goes through committees, whether it comes out of a Senate committee, votes on the full floor of the Senate, goes over to the House, goes through a House committee, comes out of the full House committee, it can change over the course. So I will say right now that I was concerned about some aspects in the original form, but as it continued to move through to understand what we were talking about, to make sure that we are able to allow for everybody across this Commonwealth, whether you're in Lee County, Pulaski County, Henrico County, or Clark County, everyone was going to be able to get the same access. And so there were some issues regarding the original form that were addressed as this bill continued to go through. And I support the concept. I've always been out there talking about the public defender's offices and how it's important that we have public defender's offices, because the one thing that they bring to the table that our court-appointed attorneys are unable to bring to the table are, sentencing specialists and investigators. Those are two things that PD offices have that regular private attorneys don't have. But what we also need to talk about in that bill, when we're talking about access to justice, we need to make sure that we're not just talking about criminal, right? Access to justice is everything. It's also civil. It's talking about housing. It's talking about jobs. It's talking about transportation. When we talk about access to justice, it is the social justice network that we are talking about. And so we want to make sure that it's not just about prosecutors, which, by the way, when I was the president of the Prosecutor Association, we did the first time study. And under my leadership, we fought very hard to make sure that when we were doing this time study, that we were touching misdemeanors that every single office in this Commonwealth actually handle. Not the ones that, like I do, because I get all this funding from my county, but literally every type of misdemeanor that would be touched by every office. And we were very purposeful in coming up with that list. And we had a proposal, and we were lucky enough to get a certain amount of funding from the General Assembly. But what I can tell you, Prince William Dems, is that the idea of funding public safety is not something that's been a high priority. But I can tell you, as we are going through, it'll be part of my legislative agenda as Attorney General, that we are making sure that we are having the right funding for regulatory aspects. Look what's happening right now at the Department of Corrections. Look what's happening right now in our nursing homes. We have different areas across our regulatory scheme, places where we put our loved ones, the food that we put in our body, and we don't have enough funding to put the men and women out there to enforce those laws. So we have a long way to go, Prince William Dems. But yes, when we want to talk